Midway upon the journey of our life, I found myself within a forest dark, for the straightforward pathway had been lost. Ah me, how hard a thing it is to say. What was this forest savage, rough and stern, which in the very thought renews the fear? It is with those words that Dante's Divine Comedy begins, with a jagged path through a daunting forest plunged in fear-inducing darkness, the fear of never again finding the right path. In Inter's case, that path is the wonderful journey that has taken the club back into the Champions League. The Nerazzurri's journey to re-behold the stars is now complete. Dante concludes the Inferno with the words, "to re-behold the stars," and it is with those same words that Inter concludes a chapter in the wilderness. As we admire this composition, our observations draw us in among the supporters pictured in a centripetal vortex projecting towards the sky, enabling us to share in an ecstasy felt by all Inter fans. But the piece is not merely a glorification of FC Internazionale Milano, the football team. Among the scenes depicted, the artist has cleverly woven hidden messages that hark back to what he sees as the most significant moments in the club's history. The most eagle-eyed will have already noticed, in the bottom left-hand corner of the piece, a forearm tattooed with the words "Cerca trova," meaning seek, find. The words come from a 1571 fresco by Giorgio Vasari, The Battle of Marciano, in the Palazzo Vecchio in Florence. The words appear on a flag carried by a Florentine rebel depicted in the fresco. Legend has it that the artist is referring to Leonardo da Vinci's Battle of Anghiari, a painting considered lost, but which some believe is hidden underneath Vasari's fresco. Let us embark on our journey to uncover the secrets of this Interista masterpiece. Following Vasari's advice, we seek, and our attentive eye shall find. Can you see the hand gestures forming a 1, another 1, and a 0? 110, the number of years that have passed since Inter's foundation. The 110 was subtly displayed, but now we move on to a number that is clear to see. 10, a symbol of power, of excellence, and of Luis Nazario da Lima, better known by his nom de guerre, Ronaldo. The figure mimics the stance adopted by Ronaldo in the famous Pirellian icon, stating that power is nothing without control. Here, we see a celebration that was without doubt the most copied by children growing up in the 90s of the last century. The Shoe Shine, a straightforward yet iconic celebration that is still enacted at youth level. The rite was first performed with Alvaro Recoba, but it was with Ronaldo that it became immortalized. If you look closely, as you are used to by now, you will see that the individual having a shoe shine is looking towards O Fenomeno, the Brazilian legend. Football Club Internazionale was founded on the evening of 9 March 1908, sealed by 44 bowler hat-wearing signatories in a famous restaurant near the Duomo in Milan, L'Orologio. The club was formed by a group that broke away from the other Milan club of the time which was against the signing of non-indigenous players. The work looks to evoke the club's foundation with 3 hat-wearing individuals by virtue of symmetry to save on space and to offer a nod to the 2010 treble. As is well known, the city of Milan is divided by 2 footballing religions. Some trace this back to the origins of the word Mediolanum, the name for the ancient city of Milan, whereby medio means a halfway divide separating 2 forces, battling each other for supremacy on the lanum, the plain, or the pitch. We know that as time goes by, one side of Milan or the other may get drawn into the inferno. Since time is a spinning wheel, hell can engulf one or the other indiscriminately. This season, however, with Inter having fought its way out, we can see an Inter fan depicted with the devil's tail in his tight grip, keeping the monster in captivity. The number 3, evocative of Inter's famous treble, makes a series of appearances alongside the 3 figures representing the club's founders. The woman in the middle of a group of 3 is showing 3 fingers on her left hand. The shape of her hand echoes a noble pose seen countless times in artwork through the ages. One could believe that those too were prophecies of that incredible night in Madrid on 22 May 2010. The Madonnina, the statue of the Virgin Mary on top of the cathedral in Milan, is the symbol of the city which gave birth to this club. It is represented in this picture by a lady positioned above the rest of the fans, looking over the city as the Madonnina did in 1908. While the cityscape may have mutated in the decades that have followed, the Nerazzurri passion has been steadfast. To the right, we see a tribute to a former player who remains dear to Inter fans, a supporter with plaited hair, colored yellow, black, and blue that echoes the famous hairdo of defender and man of God, Taribo West. At the end of his career, the eccentric Nigerian declared himself a Pentecostal pastor and founded the shelter in the Storm Church on the outskirts of Milan. The man that brought Inter the treble, José Mourinho. Here, his famous run onto the Nou Camp pitch after the 2010 Champions League semi-final second leg is remembered. Having lost on the night, but progressed to the final, the game remains the sweetest defeat in the club's recent history. In the picture, the special one is pointing to the sky, creating a link between the past and the present. The former manager is also pointing towards the next hidden message in this masterpiece. Looking on Volterrano's Sibyll's frescoes, I experienced the most intense pleasure art has ever bestowed upon me. I was in a sort of ecstasy from the idea of being in Florence, close to the great men whose tombs I had seen. I reached the point where one encounters celestial sensations. As I emerged from the porch of Santa Croce, I was seized with a fierce palpitation of the heart. The wellspring of life was dried up within me, and I walked in constant fear of falling to the ground. In 1817, this was how Marie-Henri Beyle, better known by his pen name, Stendhal, described the feeling of lightheartedness and confusion when looking at something beautiful, a condition that is now known as Stendhal syndrome. Have you ever felt so powerless in the face of beauty that you lost control of your senses? If you ever do, hope that your fellow supporters are by your side and ready to come to your aid, as we see in this picture. The young man being looked after by his friends has fainted, having been transfixed by the energy emanating from the index finger of Mourinho pointing towards him. The scene echoes a famous work by Caravaggio, The Entombment of Christ, depicting a restless, suffering soul like an Interista before the team was coined. Two men, one counting on his fingers, another washing his hands. This scene depicts a famous quip by the most famous Interista lawyer in history. It pokes lighthearted fun at two of Inter's most fearsome rivals, as always looking to raise the stakes and prepare the ground for clashes that are about more than just football. There is room for tears in this work of art, but tears of joy in this instance. The tears of an Inter fan who was at the Bernabeu when Inter won the Champions League and completed their treble. It is an image that sums up all the emotion felt by Inter fans on that memorable night, 22 May 2010. In this representation, the fan is pointing his camera towards the center, towards the starry sky, ready to capture new memories on the European stage. The Biscione, or the serpent, is Inter's symbol, and it weaves in and out of those pictured here, making its way from one side of the masterpiece to another. It is representative of a chain of passion which both binds and liberates those it encounters, like the warmth of a loving family, unbreakable but free of constraints. The artist creates a link between the serpent and the one featured on the flag being waved by the tip of its tail as a reminder that every dream can become reality. Who do we find at the end of the tail? It's Matias Vecino. He's on the end of the serpent's tail, just as he got on the end of Marcelo Brozovic's corner to head in the goal that brought Inter back into the Champions League after almost a decade in the wilderness. The artist has depicted the Uruguayan midfielder celebrating just as he did after that memorable goal against Lazio. This splendid night will give us the colors of our badge, black and blue against the gold of the stars. We will be called Internazionale because we are brothers of the world. A true genius is able to keep a message hidden, but in the most obvious of places. Stare into the night sky and you will notice that some stars shine brighter than others. Join them up and the letters BOTW, standing for Brothers of the World, will appear. And so we come to the end of our adventure, a journey that has taken us in and amongst Inter fans as they contemplate one of the most important moments of their own history. Thank you, dear listeners, for following us. Without presuming to teach you anything, we merely hope our guide has provided entertainment and intrigue. If you have learned something new, we encourage you to share this video with your friends because, citing Dante once again, consider well the seed that gave you birth. You were not made to live as brutes, but to follow virtue and knowledge. We might add, and the stars.